Hello and welcome to another episode of Ask Cheeky. I'm Isaiah Henkel with Cheeky Scientist, and today's question comes from Latidita Anon. Well, Latidita, let's see, your question is, my informational interview requests are always denied and I feel like people think I have no worth. What to do? This is something that a lot of PhDs come to us about, and they say, I've been reaching out to people on LinkedIn. They don't get back to me. They must not think I'm very valuable, or I must be doing something wrong. Very often, there's nothing inherently wrong with you or your initial approach. You're just not following up. You have to realize that if you're reaching out to somebody that's employed, they're not going to be on LinkedIn as much as you or other job candidates are who are actively looking for a position. And they're not going to get an automatic email right away that's coming from LinkedIn to their email inbox, right? Even if they have that set up where LinkedIn's emailing them saying, hey, you have a LinkedIn message, it might go to spam, it might go to their social media folder. They're not going to recognize your name. They're going to be very busy. And in industry, getting 100 emails a day is common, even for just entry-level positions. So if you see an email from LinkedIn or from something that's not a priority or from someone you never met, you're very likely to not answer it the first time. This is why following up on a weekly basis or every 2 weeks is very, very important when you're trying to connect with somebody new. It doesn't mean that you're not valuable. It just means that you need to be more persistent. It doesn't mean that you're stalking somebody, etc. This is just how it works. And a lot of people, especially in industry once they have a job, they want to see how well you follow up. They know that following up is not easy and that it takes persistence to do that. So you need to show them that, hey, you're going to reach out. You're not going to get passive aggressive by saying, just seeing if you got my email or just seeing if you got my LinkedIn message, but that you keep adding value. And by adding value, I mean showing your appreciation for their work, for a paper they published, complimenting their career progress if they got a promotion or they got a job recently. And recently means in the last year or two. That's still recent enough to congratulate their career progress. So all of this stuff is really important. And especially when it comes to setting up informational interviews, you need to follow up for your informational interviews requests, but you also need to ask for these requests delicately. What I mean by that is don't ask an open-ended question for somebody's time when it comes to an informational interview. Don't say, hey, just seeing if you have some time next week so that I can ask you some questions. It's very open-ended. Do you need an hour of my time? A full day? How many questions? 10 questions? 100 questions? Instead, make your requests very focused, very time-dependent, and very question-dependent, as in, say, I'm just wondering if you have 5 minutes next week where I can ask you 2 questions about the current role that you're in. I'm a PhD student, or I'm a postdoc, I'm interested in getting into this role. I'm just wondering if you have 5 minutes next week so I can ask you 2 quick questions about your current position. That's it. That's easy. 5 minutes? Sure, I can fit you in. 2 questions? No problem. That's how you want to set up your first informational interview with somebody. And then show them that you'll stick to that. Show them that you'll actually only ask them 2 questions and you'll only take up 5 minutes of their time. And then you can circle back in a week or 2 and say thank you and say, hey, any chance we can meet in person? I'm going to be in the area. I'd love to bring you a cup of coffee and sit down with you for 30 minutes and ask you just a few more questions about the position. Right? Then you can ask for more of their time. You can ask them a few more questions once you've built that trust. So hopefully this helps you. When you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn, make sure you're following up. When you're asking for informational interview questions specifically, make sure you're not only following up, but you're asking time-dependent and question-dependent questions. This takes us to the end of this Cheeky Scientist Ask Cheeky video. Until next time, remember your value as a PhD and start thinking and acting like a successful industry professional.